Stop looking for fairness in a world built on advantage. People do not reward honesty, they reward leverage. Most men lose because they keep playing by rules nobody else follows. Today you will learn 21 ruthless laws Machiavelli would use to outsmart everyone in the room. These are not motivational ideas, these are control principles. They decide who gets listened to, who gets respected, and who gets ignored. If you keep reacting, explaining, and trying to be understood, you will stay predictable. Predictable men are easy to manage. That is why the world loves good people. They are convenient. Here is the truth. Power is not loud. Power is timing, silence, and access. Most people speak to feel relief. Strategic people speak to create outcomes. If you have been feeling like you are always one step behind, it is not bad luck. It is because you are missing laws that other people use automatically. Some of these laws will feel cold, good. Cold is what keeps you calm while everyone else panics. Cold is what keeps your face neutral when you are being tested. Cold is what keeps your position intact when someone tries to provoke you in public. This is not for hurting people. This is for protection, not destruction. It is for making sure nobody can drag you into their chaos and take control of your behavior. Understand this before we go deeper. Intelligence without discipline is just noise. Charm without boundaries is just begging in a nicer voice. Confidence without control is just ego waiting to be exposed. Every law in this video is built around one question: who controls the frame? The man who controls the frame controls the outcome. Most people hand the frame away by defending themselves. They over-explain, they justify, they apologize, and they chase approval. That is the moment they become smaller. From that moment, others feel permission to push them. These laws will teach you how to remove that permission. You will learn how to stay unreadable when someone fishes for information. You will learn how to delay answers so you control timing. You will learn how to make your silence heavier than their speech. You will learn how to reward loyalty and punish disrespect without drama. You will learn how to spot manipulation before it touches your emotions. You will learn how to keep your reputation clean while your strategy stays hidden. And you will learn the simplest advantage of all. Never show effort when you are negotiating. Effort signals need. Need makes you cheap. Position makes you valuable. Today we reverse that pattern, not by becoming cruel, by becoming precise, by choosing what gets access to you and what gets nothing. And when you can see it, you cannot unsee it. Now I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I control the pace. Let me see who's ready for this. Let me see who's serious. Let's begin. Law 1 starts with your mouth. If you can't control your words, you will never control the room. Number 1, master your mouth. You don't lose power in big moments. You lose it in small sentences. You talk too much. You explain too fast. You try to sound reasonable. That is how you become predictable. Predictable men get managed. They get interrupted. They get dismissed. They get used. You think speaking more will fix disrespect. It does the opposite. It shows urgency. It shows need. It shows fear of losing the frame. People do not listen to your logic first. They read your control. They hear your pace. They watch your restraint. The mouth is a leak. Every extra word spills position. When you answer instantly, you give them rhythm. When you defend yourself, you accept their frame. When you over-explain, you tell them you want approval. Approval is a currency you cannot afford. Machiavelli understood this. The man who speaks less is harder to trap. The man who speaks less is harder to attack. Silence creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates caution. Caution creates respect. Most people talk to reduce tension. Strategic people talk to create outcomes. That is the difference. This law is not about being rude. It is about being unmovable. The moment someone tests you, they are watching one thing. Do you rush to prove yourself? Or do you hold the line? When you pause, they feel your control. When you choose one clean sentence, they feel your authority. When you stop, they have nothing to pull, nothing to twist, nothing to feed on. A man who cannot control his words cannot control a room. Control begins where explanation ends. Number 2, control the clock. Power is rarely about volume, it is about timing. Whoever controls the clock controls perception. You think fast answers show confidence, they usually show pressure. When you respond instantly, you reveal urgency. Urgency exposes need. Need lowers value. Most people answer fast to avoid silence. They rush to fill the gap. They rush to look competent. They rush to stay liked. In that rush, they lose leverage. Immediate answers create rhythm. Rhythm creates predictability. Predictability invites manipulation. If they know when you will speak, they know how to steer you. Negotiations are not won by speed. They are won by patience. When a question lands, pause. Let the silence breathe. Watch who gets uncomfortable first. Ask one clarifying question. Shift the focus back. Say you will decide later. Not emotionally, not defensively, calmly. That calm delay changes the atmosphere. Now they are waiting on you. Now they are adjusting to your tempo. Now you are setting pressure instead of absorbing it. The man who answers last often decides the outcome. Timing turns small moves into heavy ones. When you slow the exchange, you thicken the air. You appear deliberate, measured, unshaken. Over time, people stop rushing you. They start watching you. They start respecting your pace. Control the clock, and you control the room. Timing is invisible leverage. Number 3, explain only once. The first explanation creates clarity. The second creates weakness. When you explain twice, you reveal doubt. You signal that you need agreement. You show that rejection unsettles you. Most people think repetition proves intelligence. It usually proves insecurity. If someone keeps asking the same question, it is rarely confusion. It is pressure. It is a dominance test. They want to see how far you will bend. They want to see how much access they have to your certainty. The more you elaborate, the smaller you look. The more you justify, the less authority you project. Endless explanation turns you defensive. Defensive energy feels guilty even when you are right. You do not need to defend truth twice. You do not need to repackage your decision for comfort. Answer once, calmly, directly, without extra emotion. If pressed again, repeat the boundary, not the story. I've already addressed that. That sentence is discipline. That sentence closes the door. When you stop feeding their curiosity, they stop testing your frame. When you refuse to perform, they lose leverage. Repetition without emotion reinforces position. Over time, people learn pushing you gives no reward. No new details, no extra access, no visible crack. And once they learn that, they adjust. Authority grows where explanation ends. Number 4, guard your reputation. Reputation speaks before you do. It enters the room ahead of your body. People decide how to treat you before you open your mouth. That decision is based on perception. Perception is currency. Every emotional outburst spends it. Every public reaction reduces it. Most provocations are not about truth. They are about exposure. Someone pushes you publicly to see if you will lose composure. If you react dramatically, you confirm their narrative. You become emotional. You become unstable. You become easy to label. And labels travel faster than facts. A short-term victory can cost long-term authority. Winning the argument is irrelevant if you damage your image. Control in public is power in private. When you stay calm, you deny them spectacle. When you stay measured, you deny them a story. Consistency builds weight. People hesitate to attack those who appear steady. They test the reactive. They avoid the disciplined. Oversharing also erodes leverage. The more you reveal your struggles, the more predictable you become. Predictability invites positioning against you. Guarding your reputation is not ego. It is strategy. It is insulation. It is survival in social environments. When your image remains controlled, Your influence expands quietly. You do not need to announce authority, you maintain it. A stable presence becomes intimidating without effort. Leverage grows where drama dies. Number 5. Control who gets access. Access defines value. If everyone can reach you, no one respects you. Constant availability makes you ordinary. Ordinary gets ignored. When your phone is always open, your time becomes cheap. When your attention is free, your presence loses weight. People treat you based on how accessible you are. Unlimited access creates entitlement. Entitlement creates disrespect. You answer instantly. You show up immediately. You adjust your schedule for anyone. That pattern trains others to expect you on demand. Expectation turns into control. Control over your time becomes control over you. This law is not about arrogance. It is about structure. Limit your responses. Create boundaries around availability. Do not explain those boundaries repeatedly. Enforce them calmly. When someone crosses a line, reduce access, not emotionally, strategically. Silence can replace engagement. Distance can replace confrontation. Scarcity forces recalibration. When access becomes selective, behavior becomes careful. People value what they might lose. They protect what feels limited. Over time, your environment adapts to your standards. Interruptions decrease. Respect increases. You stop reacting to demands. You start filtering them. Controlled access builds authority without noise. If they cannot reach you freely, they cannot control your pace. Access is leverage. Number 6. Weaponize strategic silence. Silence is not weakness, it is pressure. Most people fear quiet space. They rush to fill it. They rush to justify themselves. They rush to escape discomfort. In that rush, they expose insecurity. Silence forces truth to surface. When someone challenges you, they expect reaction. They expect words. They expect emotion. If you give them that instantly, they control the exchange. If you pause, you shift the weight. Eye contact. Still posture. No immediate reply. Let the air tighten. Discomfort begins to work for you. The other person starts adjusting. They speak more. They explain themselves. They soften their tone. You have said nothing. That is leverage. One concise sentence carries more authority than 10 defensive ones. Say it calmly, then stop. Do not chase agreement. Do not repeat yourself. Do not add extra emotion. Silence after a clean statement magnifies its impact. The longer you remain composed, the more uncertain they become. Uncertainty makes people cautious. Caution creates respect. Arguments feed on reaction. Silence starves them. Without emotional fuel, conflict weakens. Provocation loses reward. You are no longer entertaining their frame. You are observing it. Over time, your quiet pauses become reputation. People start anticipating your restraint. They think twice before testing you. Intimidation without aggression is higher-level control. You do not need volume, you need stillness. Silence makes you unreadable. Unreadable makes you untouchable. The man who masters silence controls escalation, and the man who controls escalation controls outcomes. Silence is leverage. Number 7. Publicly reward loyalty. Power does not grow alone. It grows through alignment. Loyalty is not automatic. It is reinforced. If you ignore loyalty, it fades. If you reward it, it multiplies. Most people only react to betrayal. They rarely strengthen allegiance. That is a strategic mistake. When someone supports you in public, notice it. When someone defends your name, acknowledge it. When someone stays solid under pressure, elevate it. Do it visibly. Do it calmly. Do it without exaggeration. Public reinforcement sends a signal. Alignment with you has value. Value attracts loyalty. Silence toward loyalty creates doubt. Doubt weakens alliances. If loyalty feels invisible, it becomes optional. When loyalty is rewarded, it becomes advantageous. Others observe the pattern. They calculate the benefits. They see that standing with you has upside. This shifts the social dynamic quietly. You are no longer alone in defense. You are surrounded by incentives. Machiavelli understood alliances are built through recognition. Fear can create obedience. Reward creates commitment. Commitment is stronger. Do not overpraise. Do not flatter. Keep acknowledgement controlled and deliberate. One sentence can build allegiance. One visible gesture can solidify alignment. Strategic acknowledgement creates a protective circle. Betrayal becomes costly when loyalty is profitable. When people see loyalty rewarded, they think twice before crossing you. Influence expands through alliances, not noise. Reward what strengthens you. Ignore what weakens you. Loyalty grows where it is recognized. Number 8. Quietly punish disrespect. Anger is loud. Authority is quiet. When someone disrespects you, they are testing limits. They are not searching for logic. They are measuring your reaction. If you explode, you confirm instability. If you argue, you accept their frame. Both responses weaken position. Disrespect spreads when it meets emotion. It stops when it meets consequence. The strongest response is controlled withdrawal. Not a speech, not a warning. A shift. Reduce access. Limit engagement. Remove privileges they enjoyed. Do it without announcement. Do it without visible frustration. Silence after disrespect creates uncertainty. Uncertainty forces reflection. People adjust faster to loss than to lectures. When benefits disappear, behavior recalibrates. You are not punishing to hurt. You are enforcing standards to protect position. Standards without consequence are empty words. Consequence without noise is dominance. Others will observe the pattern. They will see that lines exist. They will see that crossing them costs something. No drama, no spectacle, just distance, just structure. When disrespect receives calm enforcement, it loses reward. When it loses reward, it loses momentum. Your composure becomes intimidation. Your silence becomes warning. You do not need to threaten. You adjust access. That adjustment speaks louder than anger. Authority is measured by what you tolerate. If you tolerate nothing without consequence, respect stabilizes. Quiet enforcement builds long-term leverage. Control is not loud, it is consistent, and consistency reshapes behavior. Number 9, conceal true intentions. The moment you announce a plan, you reduce its power. Visibility attracts resistance, not always direct resistance, often subtle interference. People question what they can see. They challenge what they can measure. They insert opinions where they were never invited. Premature exposure weakens execution. Every declared intention becomes open for debate. Debate drains momentum. Momentum requires privacy. Most men talk about what they will build. Strategic men build before they talk. Silence protects direction. Privacy protects pace. When others know your timeline, they adjust against it. When they do not, they hesitate. Hesitation creates leverage. Leverage shifts control quietly. Sharing too early invites doubt disguised as advice. Advice dilutes confidence. Confidence fuels action. When you reveal details, you expose vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities invite sabotage, sometimes intentional, often unconscious. People interfere simply by reacting. Reaction creates pressure. Pressure fractures focus. Energy is your greatest asset. Guard it. Move quietly. Refine in silence. Execute without announcement. Let results surface on their own. Unexpected outcomes reshape perception instantly. Surprise multiplies influence. Predictability reduces impact. Mystery commands caution. Caution commands respect. You owe no one a preview of strategy. Completion speaks louder than promise. The unseen move is harder to block. When success appears without warning, it feels inevitable. Inevitability builds authority. Concealment is not fear. It is discipline. It is insulation. It is leverage preserved. Silence strengthens position. Number 10, limit shared information. Information is leverage. The more you give away, the less you control. Oversharing feels honest. It often feels weak. When people know your plans, they calculate against them. When they know your emotions, they press on them. When they know your weaknesses, they store them. Nothing shared disappears. It becomes usable. Most men talk to feel connected. Strategic men speak to protect position. You do not need to narrate your strategy. You do not need to reveal your next move. You do not need to explain your internal state. Brief answers create distance. Distance creates uncertainty. Uncertainty creates caution. When someone asks about your direction, keep it neutral. When someone probes for details, reduce specifics. You are not lying. You are limiting access. Access to information is access to leverage. If they cannot map you fully, they cannot predict you accurately. Prediction is the first step toward control. Remove prediction, and manipulation weakens. In negotiations, details become bargaining chips. The one who speaks less keeps more. The one who reveals less negotiates stronger. Emotional transparency in hostile environments invites exploitation. Composure and restraint protect authority. Mystery enhances perceived strength. People hesitate when they lack full data. Hesitation shifts power. You are not required to satisfy curiosity. You are required to protect leverage. Limit what you reveal. Limit how much you explain. Limit how much you react. Silence around strategy preserves advantage. Control over information preserves negotiation power. When they know less, they assume more. And assumption is rarely accurate. Limited information keeps you insulated. Insulated means untouchable. Leverage survives where details are scarce. Number 11. Reframe the battlefield. Arguments are traps. They pull you into someone else's narrative. The moment you start defending, you accept their frame. Their accusation becomes the center. Their story becomes the battlefield. And you fight on ground they selected. That is disadvantage. Most people argue to prove innocence. Strategic people refuse the premise. When someone accuses you, pause. Do not rush to justify. Do not rush to correct details. Look at the motive behind the words. Ask yourself what they are trying to gain. Control, attention, validation. When you see the motive, shift the frame. Do not answer the surface attack. Expose the underlying move. Calmly, without emotion. Say what is actually happening. This isn't about the issue. This is about control. That shift changes the terrain. Now they are reacting to you. Now the focus is on their behavior. Reframing moves the spotlight. The spotlight decides power. When you control the spotlight, you control perception. Perception shapes reputation. Reputation shapes influence. Most arguments escalate because both sides accept the same battlefield. You do not have to accept it. You can rename it. You can redefine it. Once you redefine it, you reset the dynamic. Hidden games lose strength when exposed. Calm reframing signals awareness. Awareness signals dominance. The man who sees the game changes the game. And the man who changes the game controls the outcome. Perception is power. Number 12. Choose visible battles. Not every conflict deserves your reaction. Reaction is currency. Spend it with precision. Some disrespect is private. Some disrespect is public. Confusing the two destroys leverage. Private disrespect bruises ego. Public disrespect damages status. Status shapes how others treat you next. If someone challenges you in front of witnesses, silence can look like submission. In that moment, perception matters more than emotion. You must correct the frame briefly. Not loudly, not dramatically. One calm sentence is enough. One boundary delivered without hesitation stabilizes your position. The room does not need volume. It needs clarity. Visible correction protects reputation. Reputation protects future leverage. Now consider private disrespect. No audience, no witnesses, no social consequence. Here, escalation is unnecessary. You enforce quietly, reduce access, withdraw privilege, limit engagement. Do not create spectacle where none exists. Public energy for private friction makes you look unstable. Strategic men separate ego from influence. They react only when perception is at risk. Before responding, scan the room. Who is watching? Who will remember this exchange? Who will retell it later? Your answer depends on that assessment. Visible strength maintains status. Invisible enforcement maintains control. Overreacting to every spark signals insecurity. Selective response signals authority. People respect men who do not flinch at noise. They respect even more the man who defends his name calmly when required. Choose battles based on consequence, not emotion. Protect status in public. Protect leverage in private. Authority survives through disciplined visibility. Number 13. Remove all neediness. Need destroys leverage instantly. The moment you need approval, you lower your value. The moment you need the outcome, you surrender control. Desperation is rarely spoken. It is felt. It shows in your tone. It shows in your speed. It shows in how quickly you agree. People sense urgency before you admit it. Urgency invites pressure. Pressure reshapes negotiation against you. When you chase approval, you become predictable. When you chase results, you become reactive. Reactive men are easy to steer. Need makes you over-explain. Need makes you overcommit. Need makes you tolerate behavior you should reject. The cure is detachment. Emotional insulation. Slow your responses, delay your decisions, create space before agreement. Maintain quiet alternatives. Never let one opportunity feel like survival. The man who can walk away controls the room. The man who cannot becomes the commodity. Detachment does not mean apathy. It means independence. When you do not cling to outcomes, your tone stabilizes. When your tone stabilizes, your presence strengthens. Others negotiate differently around you. They sense you will not fold under pressure. They hesitate before testing boundaries because they know you can leave. And leaving is power. Approval is not oxygen. Opportunity is not identity. You are not defined by this one exchange. You are defined by your control. The less you need, the more you command. Detachment restores leverage. Leverage restores authority. Authority restores respect. Control begins when need ends. Number 14. Create controlled scarcity. Constant availability destroys value. If you are always present, you become background noise. Background noise is ignored. When you overgive time, you reduce perceived worth. When you overgive attention, you weaken position. People rarely respect what feels unlimited. They respect what feels limited. Scarcity changes behavior without confrontation. Most men try to earn respect by giving more. More effort, more explanations, more access. That pattern lowers leverage. Leverage grows when availability becomes selective. You do not withdraw to punish. You withdraw to recalibrate perception. Limit how often you respond. Limit how often you show up. Limit how much attention you distribute. Make presence conditional on standards. If respect drops, access drops. If behavior improves, access returns. No speech is required. No emotional debate. Scarcity communicates value silently. When something becomes less accessible, it feels more important. Importance commands care. Care stabilizes treatment. Controlled scarcity creates structure. Structure shapes behavior. You are not playing games. You are defining boundaries. Unlimited access breeds entitlement. Selective access breeds discipline. When your time feels rare, it becomes respected. When your attention feels earned, it becomes valued. Scarcity forces recalibration. People adjust when availability shifts. They become more careful. They become more attentive. They become more respectful. Presence should never feel automatic. It should feel conditional. Conditional access strengthens authority. Authority strengthens leverage. Scarcity preserves power. Number 15. Master facial discipline. Your face speaks before your words do. It reveals tension. It reveals doubt. It reveals fear, even when you say nothing. Most people lose control through expression. A raised eyebrow, a tightened jaw, a nervous smile. These signals broadcast vulnerability. Vulnerability invites pressure. Pressure tests stability. When someone confronts you, they are watching your reaction, not your argument, not your logic, your reaction. If your face shifts, they sense movement. Movement signals weakness. Weakness invites escalation. Facial discipline is insulation. It protects your internal state from public exposure. Calm eyes, neutral posture, steady breathing. No sudden gestures, no visible irritation. Emotional stillness creates psychological weight. The calmer you look, the less they understand you, the more cautious they become. Composure under stress feels intimidating. It suggests control. It suggests awareness. It suggests dominance without aggression. Most men try to control the conversation. Few control their expression. Expression is perception. Perception shapes power. When your face remains steady, your position remains steady. You are not suppressing emotion. You are delaying display. Feel privately. Display strategically. Visible calm frustrates manipulators. They search for cracks and find none. They increase pressure and receive silence. That silence unsettles them. Facial discipline protects leverage. It prevents emotional leakage. It keeps your inner state insulated. Over time, your composure becomes reputation. People expect steadiness from you. They test you less. They respect you more. Authority is often silent. Dominance is often still. When your face does not flinch, your power does not shift. Control of expression is control of perception. Control of perception is control of the room. Emotional control becomes visible dominance. Number 16. Let them reveal themselves. Most people expose their intentions without realizing it. You miss it because you interrupt. You rush to respond. You rush to correct. You rush to defend. In that rush, you block information. Patience is intelligence. When someone speaks, let them continue. Do not rescue the silence. Do not finish their sentence. Silence invites disclosure. People fear quiet space. They fill it with truth, often more than they planned. Ask one precise question, then stop talking. Watch what they emphasize. Watch what they avoid. Watch what they repeat. Patterns reveal motive. Repetition exposes priority. Contradictions expose weakness. You do not need interrogation. You need observation. Most manipulation hides in tone and timing, not in words alone. When you slow down, you see the gaps. When you stop reacting, you notice the shifts. Information hides in micro behaviors, hesitation, overconfidence, sudden defensiveness. These signals are data. Data becomes leverage. The patient man gathers advantage quietly. The impatient man reveals himself instead. Listening longer than expected unsettles others. They wonder what you are thinking. They start explaining themselves. They offer details unasked. Those details become insight. Insight becomes power. You are not passive. You are calculating. Observation protects you from deception. It prevents premature trust. It exposes hidden agendas before they solidify. Over time, patterns surface clearly. You no longer guess motives. You recognize them. Awareness removes surprise. Surprise is the weapon of manipulators. When you see the pattern early, you control the outcome. Let others reveal themselves. Resist the urge to react. Resist the urge to fill silence. Stillness gathers information. Information builds position. The one who observes controls the exchange. Observation is quiet dominance. Number 17. Strike with perfect timing. Action without timing is noise. Noise rarely wins. Most men react too early. They move when emotions are high. They speak when pressure peaks. That is when resistance is strongest. Emotional heat clouds judgment. It also strengthens opposition. When you respond at the peak of conflict, you fight uphill. Patience changes terrain. Wait for emotional temperature to drop. Silence often weakens the other side faster than attack. Time exposes flaws in their position. Time reveals who overplayed their move. A delayed response feels heavier. It feels deliberate. It feels calculated. That perception shifts power. You are no longer reacting. You are choosing. Choosing creates authority. Authority shapes outcomes. Well-timed action multiplies impact. Small corrections become decisive. Short statements feel final. Minimal movement feels dominant. Timing also protects reputation. You avoid looking impulsive. You avoid looking unstable. You avoid looking emotional. Instead, you appear strategic, composed, controlled. In negotiations, delay forces others to reconsider. In conflict, delay forces others to cool down. In leadership, delay signals discipline. You are not stalling, you are positioning. Act when conditions favor you. Act when resistance is weakest. Act when observers are watching. Precision beats speed, calm beats urgency. A strike at the right moment reshapes perception instantly. Timing converts small moves into decisive outcomes. The clock is part of the battlefield. Control it. Number 18. Test before you trust. Trust without evidence is exposure. Words are cheap. Behavior is data. Most betrayals begin with blind confidence. You assume loyalty because it feels good. You assume alignment because they say the right things. That is how access gets misused. Trust must be earned through pattern, not promise, not charm. Small tests reveal truth quickly. Set a minor boundary. Watch the reaction. Ask for a small favor. Observe the response. Introduce slight pressure. Notice the shift in tone. Loyal people remain steady. Disloyal people become defensive. Weak people complain. Manipulative people negotiate boundaries immediately. You are not being paranoid. You are collecting information. Information protects leverage. Give limited access at first. Increase it slowly. Do not hand over full trust in one move. Pressure reveals character faster than comfort. Comfort hides intention. Watch consistency over time. Consistency signals reliability. Inconsistency signals risk. Most people reveal who they are under minor strain. You only need patience to see it. Testing prevents future damage. It saves you from larger consequences later. A small boundary today avoids major betrayal tomorrow. Trust should feel earned, not assumed. When people know you observe patterns, they behave carefully. Careful behavior strengthens alignment. Careless behavior exposes weakness. You do not confront immediately. You observe. You adjust access accordingly. Trust is leverage. Grant it slowly. Protect it fiercely. Stability grows when evidence replaces assumption. Number 19. Exit before devaluation. Value declines when presence becomes expected. The longer you stay without recalibration, the more ordinary you appear. Ordinary loses leverage. At first, you are appreciated. Then you are anticipated. Then you are assumed. Assumption turns into entitlement. Entitlement erodes respect. You feel the shift before you admit it. Gratitude decreases. Demands increase. Effort becomes unnoticed. That is the signal. Most men stay too long. They try to restore appreciation with more effort. More effort accelerates devaluation. The rule is simple. Leave before respect fades completely. Withdraw calmly. No dramatic exit. No emotional speech. Just reduced presence. Just controlled distance. When you exit early, your image remains strong. When you stay too long, you look dependent. Dependency lowers authority. Authority requires option. Option requires mobility. The man who can leave preserves value. The man who clings loses influence. Departure resets perception. Absence restores weight. People often realize value after removal. That realization strengthens future leverage. You are not abandoning, you are protecting position. Timing matters even in departure. Exit before resentment appears. Exit before dignity erodes. Exit while perception remains intact. Controlled departure preserves reputation. Reputation preserves influence. Influence preserves power. Leave while they still feel your absence. Number 20. Enforce fearless standards. Standards mean nothing without consequence. Words without enforcement invite testing. If you state a boundary and ignore the violation, you weaken yourself. People measure seriousness through action, not through statements. Most men declare standards emotionally. Few enforce them calmly. Calm enforcement builds authority. Emotional enforcement builds instability. Your non-negotiables must be clear. Disrespect. dishonesty, boundary violation. These are not topics for debate. They are lines. When a line is crossed, consequence must follow. Not loudly, not dramatically, consistently. Consistency creates predictability in your standards. Predictability in standards creates caution in others. Caution stabilizes respect. If consequences vary with mood, your standards lose credibility. Credibility is leverage. Leverage protects identity. You are not punishing to dominate. You are enforcing to protect position. When manipulation meets resistance, it weakens. When manipulation meets tolerance, it grows. Fearless standards do not require aggression. They require discipline. You do not argue over your boundaries. You apply them. Once people see that violations always cost something, behavior shifts. They calculate before crossing you. They adjust before testing you. Authority grows where rules remain steady. Steady standards create stable power. Power built on consistency lasts longer than power built on intimidation. Standards are silent strength. Enforce them without fear. Number 21. Embrace calculated unpredictability. Predictable behavior invites control. If they can map your reaction, they can manage your outcome. Most people respond the same way every time. Same tone, same speed, same emotional pattern. That pattern becomes a script. Scripts are easy to exploit. When others know exactly how you will react, they gain advantage. Calculated unpredictability breaks the script. Not chaos, not randomness, controlled variation. Delay the response they expect. Change the tone they anticipate. Refuse the emotional pattern they rely on. If you always argue, stay silent. If you always explain, give one sentence. If you always react instantly, pause. This forces recalculation. Recalculation creates hesitation. Hesitation weakens confidence. Confidence fuels manipulation. Remove it. Uncertainty shifts leverage back to you. They cannot prepare for a response they cannot predict. They become cautious. Caution changes behavior. Controlled unpredictability keeps you insulated. It prevents others from steering your emotions. It protects your pace. It protects your position. You are not erratic. You are strategic. The goal is not confusion. The goal is leverage. When your behavior cannot be mapped, your authority strengthens. People test you less. They assume less. They interfere less. Unpredictability removes the illusion of control. And once that illusion is gone, power stabilizes around you. From here, there is no neutral position. Power was never about being louder. It was never about dominating conversations. It was never about forcing outcomes through emotion. Real power has always been about access, about restraint, about control. The man who reacts slowly controls pace. The man who speaks less controls perception. The man who enforces standards quietly controls outcomes. That is the difference between noise and authority. Most people chase validation. They chase quick wins. They chase emotional release. And in that chase, they leak leverage. You are no longer playing that game. If applying these laws feels uncomfortable, that discomfort is a signal. You are breaking approval habits. You are breaking reflex reactions. You are breaking the need to be understood by everyone. Discipline feels unnatural at first. Silence feels heavy at first. Detachment feels cold at first. But cold creates clarity. Clarity creates control. Once you stop explaining yourself twice, you cannot return to begging for agreement. Once you start enforcing consequences calmly, you cannot pretend you did not see the manipulation. Once you understand leverage, you cannot unknow it. There is no return to being easy to control. There is no return to being predictable. Now you face a decision. Remain convenient for others, or become calculated and respected. Remain emotionally accessible to anyone, or become selective and insulated. You cannot be both comfortable and powerful. You choose one. The man who controls his pace controls the room. The man who controls access controls treatment. The man who controls reaction controls the outcome. Today, apply one move. In one interaction, delay your response. Let silence do the work. Observe instead of reacting. Notice how the dynamic shifts. Small behavioral shifts compound. Restraint compounds. Consistency compounds. Over time, perception changes, and perception shapes reality. If this gave you clarity instead of comfort, press like. Let the signal be visible. Share this with someone who keeps losing leverage without realizing why. Subscribe if you are ready for deeper strategy and sharper awareness in the next laws. Do not follow casually. Follow deliberately. Drop this in the comments. I control the frame. Then decide which law you will apply first. Identity is not declared once. It is reinforced daily. Control is not loud. It is consistent. You now understand the structure. You now see the pattern. You now recognize the game. From this point forward, hesitation is a choice. Convenience is choice. Authority is choice. Choose carefully.